For those select few that are already initiated, you should already know what this is. And for those of you that aren't, just chill. See, we're going to get down to the other stuff here in a second. But what I'm always trying to get everybody to understand is everything is vibration. So, before we do anything else, just vibe.
You have given me good time, and all I wanna do is make it better. I can never tell you that I did love you now, and no other love can compare to you. Pretty little baby, you have given me good time, and all I wanna do is make it better. I can never tell you that I did love you now, and no other love can compare to you. Oh, baby, you have given me good time, and all I wanna do is make it better. I can never tell you that I did love you now, and no other love can compare to you.
Vibe. Just let it seep in. See, the knowledge comes naturally. And that means the vibe is the most important part.
Pretty little baby, you have given me good time, and all I wanna do is make it better. I can never tell you that I did love you now, and no other love can compare to you. Oh, baby, you have given me good time, and all I wanna do is make it better. I can never tell you that I did love you now, and no other love can compare to you.
Yeah, it's about that time. You know that time for you to open up your ear and let me crawl into your mind. Come here and let me tell you a little bit about you. What it was. You're tuned in with priceless knowledge of self. And this right here, this ain't nothing but some cosmic insight. And I know it's been a while, but I think it's time to get back to the money. And what I mean by that this time is this right here. This is a little something about those people that have the part of fortune in the first house of their natal chart. Now, before I can go there, what I'm going to do first is remind y'all what the part of fortune actually is. And then we're going to briefly discuss what the first house of the natal chart is all about. But then comes a culmination, a crescendo, and eventually a climax. And don't let the smooth taste fool you. No. Don't never do that, because I'm actually one of the coldest closers in the game. So, without further ado, let's get into you. And in astrology, the part of fortune, or Fortuna, as it's also known as, is the most popular and well-known out of all of the Arabic parts. And that's actually fitting, because this actually does speak of prosperity. Alright, but before I even go there, let me first explain what Arabic parts are. And basically, Arabic parts are sensitive points in a chart that are calculated by adding up 2 astrological points or planets and then subtracting another one. So in essence, this is an equation or a formula that equates to an energetic significance. And in this instance with the part of fortune, this formula is actually going to differ between day charts and night charts. Now, before you let that confuse you, having a day chart just basically means when you were born or at the inception of that chart, the sun was above the horizon, or in houses 7 through 12. Alright? And then the night chart just basically means the opposite. That means the sun was below the horizon at the inception of that chart or at the birth of that person. So that means it's in houses 1 through 6. For example, my sun is in Cancer in the 9th house of my natal chart. So I have a day chart. But my daughter's sun is in Capricorn of her 6th house of her natal chart. So she has a night chart. Alright? And, to calculate the part of fortune, what you're going to do for a day chart is you're going to take the ascendant plus the moon and then subtract the sun. Alright? And then for a night chart, you're going to do the ascendant plus the sun and then you subtract the moon. And plain and simple, the part of fortune speaks of prosperity and material abundance and worldly success. Alright? Meaning this is the easiest flow of energy or the most reliable access point to abundance in this life or in this chart. Alright? And so this is going to point to natural abilities, God-given gifts, personality traits, and also developable skills that could really pay off in the end for us right here. Alright? And so by sign, this is going to show the type of energy that we need to utilize. And then by house, it shows the area of life or the arena of experience that this would best be expressed in. Alright? And I would also look to the planetary ruler of your part of fortune and see what that's doing, because that could probably help you out. For instance, my part of fortune is at 20 degrees of Gemini in my 9th house. Well, that means Mercury rules my part of fortune. And my Mercury is at 0 degrees of Leo in my 10th house. And look what I do here with you. And I do it well, don't I? Some would say I'm the best. So that's how that goes. All right. And then so I also want y'all to just get past the money if you can and take a look at your lot of spirit, because this is going to be calculated in the exact opposite way to the part of fortune. But that doesn't mean this is going to be the exact opposite point. So this is not operating on a polarity or an axis. All right. My part of fortune is in Gemini in my 9th house. My lot of spirit is in Aquarius in my 5th house. And the lot of spirit is going to speak of what you need for spiritual fulfillment. But we ain't talking about that right now. All right. I do want y'all to check that out and look at it just for you. But this right here is about that guap, that guala, that bag that we all speak of. All right. And I am a spiritual person, but I'm still a Mars in Capricorn. So I need it. You heard me? And let me also explain before we move on that the lot of fortune and the lot of spirit and all of the Arabic lots, as well as the north and the south node, the black moon Lilith, the vertex, All of those right there are calculated points within a chart. Like the nodes are points in the moon's elliptical. The black moon Lilith is the dark apogee of the moon. All right. And so you have these calculations that point to sensitive points in a chart or in a person's life. All right. Just so we know that. Those are not actual astrological bodies. Now, let's talk about the first house. And see, the first house of the natal chart is the house of self. And the first house cusp is where we find the ascendant sign of the chart. And so basically the ascendant is just the sign that's on the eastern horizon at the creation of that chart or at the moment of that person's birth. All right. And through thinking about that and the concept of sunrise and beginnings, that's where we can also start to paint a picture of what the first house is about. See, the first house is about beginnings in a way because it all starts with you. See, you can love others and they can be important to you, but you can only experience this world as you. And despite this bullshit that those twin flamers try to sell you, you are an independent entity in this life. So what does that mean for you? Well, who are you? What can you become? How do you experience yourself? Those are the questions that the first house presents. But the sign or the signs in your first house, because if you use Placidus, there could be a couple of signs there, plus the planets placed there and the aspects to those placements, as well as your ascendant, can all answer those questions right there. All right. So in essence, what is your vessel on this voyage of discovery? What makes you a unique individual? Well, there's our appearance for starters, right? And then when you couple that with our projected or apparent personality and our overall demeanor, that actually says a lot. See, this is the package that we use to present ourselves to the world. And the first house rules the physical body as a whole, but in particular, the face and the head. And it's ruled by Mars. So with that in mind, this also reveals our approach that we take to the world. All right. Meaning this is the vehicle that we use to get to the person that we're becoming. And any planets in the first house are going to play out either as physical traits or personal style or in prominent parts of our apparent personality. All right. So, when we find that part of fortune in the first house, man, the main thing to understand is all you need is you. That's all you need. Because having this here ultimately means that you make your own luck. And all you got to do is embrace yourself and express yourself with the natural gifts that whatever sign here has blessed you with, and you'll automatically flourish. But even deeper than that, this is about being in harmony with yourself and living up to your own standard instead of trying to please other people or projecting into the expectations of others. All right. This is about finding strength in you, and it's about being independent. But unfortunately, let me just keep it real and let you know that's not a given. Because to be honest, a lot of people with this placement have this tendency to be caught up in codependency or lost in what other people want for them. And so, man, they kind of betray themselves or they get away from what works best for them in this life. All right. And so with the part of fortune in the first house, if you really want to prosper, you're going to have to go through a certain process of self-awareness and self-development to embrace who you really are and then find joy in expressing that. Yeah. And you just have to make sure you're not denying your blessings or stifling your individuality. So if your part of fortune is in the first house in Virgo or Aquarius, don't ever dumb yourself down to fit in with anybody. All right. And if this is Sagittarius or Leo, don't ever be bland because somebody else can't handle it. That's a motherfucking problem. You hear me? Just make sure you're not violating anybody's boundaries or you're not hurting anybody, and you should be straight. But either way, with the part of fortune here in the first, people are going to have a certain way of doing things. All right? And it's like each one of y'all with this right here has a completely unique approach to life, or an especially specific way of doing things, because this placement actually speaks to a person being specifically special or naturally gifted or just pretty freaking unique in some way, form, or fashion. But this could have also been frowned upon by their environment or by their upbringing or their parents when they were younger right here. But that's not always the case. Really, when you're dealing with the part of fortune in the first, nothing is always the case. Because like I said a little bit earlier, every case is unique with this. But I can say one thing that is universal amongst all of them is the fact that they need to follow that intuition that they have, because that's going to need to be their guide in this life. All right. They need to be able to do their own thing. All right. And even if this is in Libra, this wouldn't be pointing to partnership. All right. This ain't the seventh house. This would be more about objectivity and finesse. And this is going to be about making your own success because of your own style and because of your own ideas. So you got to be the creator, the curator, and the facilitator, with or without the support of anybody else. You heard me? And let me just go ahead and let you know, with this placement right here, there actually might not be a lot of support, if any, unless you specifically ask for it. All right. But the thing is, if you do ask for help, you're actually going to weaken the blessings of the part of fortune here in the first. So you got to do things on your own. And you kind of got to look at everybody else like a liability or even competition sometimes. All right. And, you know, I was reading about this placement a while back, and it kind of quoted the old saying that fortune favors the brave. All right. And that actually rang true with this right here, because this is about being active, being action oriented, and taking all of the initiative you need for you in this life. All right. And that kind of takes courage, at least to a certain extent, you know. But what's beautiful about this is even though you might not have a lot of support at first, unless you explicitly ask for it, all right, because you can explicitly ask for it and it probably will come to you. But like I said, it will weaken the blessings of this. All right. So even though you might not have a lot of support at first, once you do start doing your own thing, and once you do start making your own success independently, people are going to start to notice that. And then people are going to start wanting to help you more and more. So you're going to succeed even further. And people are going to want to support you. And then people are going to want to follow you. And then other people are going to start to copy you. Oh, yeah. And that's when you go from being a pioneer to a motherfucking trendsetter. And people with the part of fortune in the first are trendsetters. All right. So with this right here, the first step towards independence is always going to be about establishing an identity. All right. And that ain't as easy as it sounds. All right. Because a lot of the people with this right here have developed their self-image based off how other people see them, which means they're just ultimately projecting into other people's expectations and probably ignoring the best things about themselves in the process of doing that. Huh. So the key to this placement is authenticity and developing a healthy self-image that's based on an honest self-inventory and genuinity. All right. So, as cliche as it may sound, knowledge of self is priceless with this right here. Because your greatest gift in the world with this placement is going to come from you being in harmony with yourself and knowing yourself and being in tune with what you want and using your gifts to make the life that you want for your motherfucking self. You understand me? So this placement is definitely going to come with some self-centeredness and a certain inclination towards introspection. But this is about understanding yourself at a deep enough level that even your limitations can become assets in their own way. Because once you know the rules of the game and what position you're meant to play, that's when you can always win and you don't never have to commit a foul. All right. Now, on a different level, sometimes displacement is just going to give a lot of physical strength or a striking physical appearance in some way, or it might bless you with an inordinate amount of charisma or a lot of style or a lot of patience or all kinds of stuff depending on the sign and the aspects to it. All right. You just need to figure out what's unique about you and then use it to your advantage. All right. So accept yourself. And if you have displacement, you're fucking awesome. But you shouldn't need me to tell you that. And to be honest, you don't even have to believe a word I just said. Because the truth of the matter is, just because you're built like that, it doesn't mean you have to build like that. And what I mean is, we all have all of this energy available to us in some way, form, or fashion. What you do with it is what you do with it. And even beyond that, it's not about what you do. It's about how you do it. And that's some priceless knowledge in itself. And this has been some priceless knowledge of self. We're done with the part of fortune in the first house. I'll be bringing you part of fortune in the second very soon. All right. But if any of y'all are interested in any astrological or numerological readings whatsoever, don't ever get at me in these comments. Instead, get at me in my email, which is mr.turner1300@gmail.com. That's MR.Turner1300@gmail.com. And I offer natal chart readings, solar return readings. I offer numerology readings. I offer synastry readings. I offer Pluto through Aquarius transit journey readings, which is completely unique to me. I'm the only person in the world who does that service. I offer consultations. I offer coaching. I am still accepting one more apprentice for this year coming up. And so you just got to get at me. All right? Because it's only going to help you. Now, y'all keep it trill till next time. Thank you for your love and support. Talk to you soon.